Hey, Reddit. I never thought I'd be the guy posting on here, but last night flipped my world upside down, and I don't know what to do with what I've learned. I need to get this off my chest. Maybe writing it out will help me make sense of it. It started like any other Friday night, except it wasn't. My wife, Olivia, had been acting weird all day. I mean, really weird. Distant. Jumpy. Checking her phone way too often, then turning it face down like she didn't want me to see something. I asked her about it over dinner. You okay? She barely touched her food and just nodded. I'm fine. But she wasn't. A little later, out of nowhere, she announced, I need to go out tonight. That caught me off guard. Olivia wasn't the type to go out clubbing, especially not without planning it days in advance. Where? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Just out, she said, avoiding eye contact. With some friends. I wasn't buying it. Who? She hesitated. Just for a second, but it was enough. Jessica and them. Jessica? Her old college roommate? That was odd. They hadn't hung out in months. I don't know, Olivia. You don't seem like you're in the mood for a night out, I said, hoping she'd just tell me what was really going on. And then, she did something that chilled me. Her eyes welled up with tears. Actual, real tears, and she said, I need this, okay? Please, just let me go. I should have pressed harder. I should have asked why she was so emotional, why she needed to escape so badly. But the way she looked at me, it was like she was desperate. And for some reason, I let her go. She grabbed her purse and rushed out, wiping her tears as she left. No hug, no goodbye, just gone. I sat there, staring at the door, my gut screaming that something wasn't right. But nothing could have prepared me for what would happen next. Olivia came home hours later, just before 3 a.m. But she wasn't drunk. She wasn't stumbling in after a wild night. She was pale as a ghost, shaking like she had just seen something horrific. She didn't even look at me as she walked in, her hands trembling as she locked the door behind her. Then she just stood there, silent, her back to me. Olivia? I said, sitting up. What happened? Nothing. I walked over and gently touched her arm. She jumped like I'd electrocuted her. That's when I saw it, her hands. They weren't just shaking. They were dirty, smudged with something dark. I felt a pit in my stomach. Olivia, I said again, my voice firmer. Tell me what's going on. She turned to me, and I swear, I've never seen her look so lost. Her lips trembled as she whispered, I can't undo it. Undo what? I asked, my blood running cold. She swallowed hard, eyes darting around like she was trying to figure out if she should tell me or not. And then, in the softest, most broken voice, she said, I wasn't alone tonight. And just like that, my worst fears came crashing down. But what she told me next was something I never saw coming. I stood there, frozen. My brain refused to process her words. I wasn't alone tonight. That could mean a million things, but the way she said it, her voice barely above a whisper, her hands trembling, it meant only one. My stomach clenched. I forced myself to stay calm. What do you mean? Olivia wouldn't look at me. She just shook her head, her breath coming in shallow gasps. Olivia, I repeated, stepping closer. Who were you with? She squeezed her eyes shut. I didn't mean for it to happen. I felt something inside me crack. My hands clenched into fists at my sides, not out of anger, out of sheer, uncontrollable dread. Tell me the truth, I said, my voice low, steady. Right now. She finally met my eyes, and what I saw there made my blood turn to ice. Guilt, terror, shame. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her lips quivered, like she was trying to hold back a confession that was clawing its way out. Olivia, I said again, this time firmer. Tell me what happened. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She bit her lips so hard I thought it would bleed. And then, I was with someone. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. Who? My voice sounded distant, like it was coming from someone else. She shook her head violently. It's not what you think. Who? I repeated, louder this time. Her hands gripped the edge of the kitchen counter, her knuckles white. She was spiraling, unraveling right in front of me. And then, she finally said it. David. For a second, I thought I had misheard her. But then it hit me. David. My best friend. My childhood friend. The guy who was practically family. The room tilted. My vision blurred. David. David. You're lying, I said, though I knew she wasn't. She sobbed, shaking her head. I swear, I didn't plan it. He was there, and I was upset, and I took a step back, needing space, needing air. You went to a club crying your eyes out, and instead of calling me, your husband, you ran to David? It wasn't like that. She cried. I just needed someone to talk to. And then, I didn't want to hear the rest. I turned away, pressing my hands against my face, trying to breathe. But then I remembered, her hands. They were smudged with something dark. And suddenly, the sickening realization hit me. What did you do? I asked slowly. Her whole body tensed. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered again. A cold dread slithered through me. Mean for what to happen? Silence. And then she whispered, he's gone. My pulse stopped. What? She broke, sobbing, gasping, gripping my arm like she was drowning. He's gone, she repeated. David. He's dead. I staggered back, my mind screaming at me to wake up from this nightmare. And then Olivia dropped to her knees, clutching herself like she was about to shatter. It was an accident, she choked out. I didn't mean to, I swear, I didn't mean to. My entire body went numb. 1 second, I thought I was dealing with an affair. The next, I realized my wife might have just killed my best friend, and I had no idea what the hell to do next. I couldn't move. My legs felt like they were made of cement, my mind spiraling as Olivia's words echoed in my skull. David is gone. He's dead. This wasn't just a betrayal anymore. It was something much, much worse. I forced myself to speak, but my voice came out hoarse. What do you mean he's dead? Olivia's entire body trembled as she rocked back and forth on her knees. Tears streamed down her face, her breathing ragged and uneven. She looked like she was on the verge of completely falling apart. I didn't mean to, she sobbed, gripping the hem of her dress like she was trying to hold herself together. Stop saying that. I snapped, my patience unraveling. Just tell me what happened. Every detail. Right now. She sucked in a shaky breath, nodding rapidly, as if she was trying to convince herself to speak. She hesitated, her lips trembling. I went to the club, okay? I just wanted to clear my head. But when I got there, I saw David. He was alone, drinking at the bar. I clenched my jaw. David and Olivia had never been particularly close. They were friendly, sure, but they didn't text, didn't hang out one-on-one. So why the hell was he at the same club as her? Go on, I said, my voice cold. She swallowed hard. I was upset. I told him about our fight. He listened. He bought me a drink, and her voice broke. He said all the things I needed to hear. That I deserved to feel wanted. That maybe I married too young. That I knew where this was going. My stomach twisted in a way that made me want to be sick. Did you sleep with him? Her head snapped up, eyes wide. No, I swear. We just talked, but then, she exhaled shakily, gripping her arms. Then we left together. I nearly lost it right there. What the hell does that mean, Olivia? We were just walking, she rushed out. He said he'd call me an Uber, but we stepped into an alley to get away from the noise, and then, she stopped, her entire body convulsing with a sob. I couldn't take it anymore. And then what? She covered her face with her hands, shaking. He kissed me. I saw red. I turned away, gripping the back of the chair so hard my knuckles turned white. I couldn't even look at her. My wife, my Olivia, kissed my best friend. She kept talking, her voice a fragile whisper. I pushed him away. I told him no, but he didn't stop. The blood in my veins turned to ice. He grabbed my wrist, she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. He pulled me back. I tried to tell him we couldn't, but he was drunk, and he wasn't listening. I forced myself to turn around. Are you saying I couldn't even finish the sentence. Her eyes darted to the floor. I don't know what he was thinking, she whispered, but I panicked. I shoved him, and he lost his balance. I swallowed, my throat dry as sandpaper. She was trembling. There was construction, a hole in the ground. He fell. He hit his head. The room started spinning. I stumbled backward, gripping the edge of the table to steady myself. Are you telling me David is dead because you pushed him? She covered her mouth, her sobs muffled. I ran a hand through my hair, my mind racing. This couldn't be real. This had to be some kind of sick dream. David, gone. My best friend. Because of her. What did you do after? I forced out. Her breath hitched. I ran. I stared at her in horror. You ran? She nodded, shaking. I didn't know what to do. I panicked. You left him there? I cut her off, my voice rising. You left him to die? She sobbed harder, gripping her arms. I don't know if he was already dead. I just ran. I didn't mean for. I couldn't listen anymore. I turned away, trying to breathe, trying to think. David was dead. My wife had left him there like roadkill. And if anyone found out she was the last person with him, she could go to prison. I pressed a hand against my forehead, my pulse hammering. What the hell was I supposed to do? I stood there, staring at Olivia like she was a stranger. My wife, my partner, had just told me she may have killed my best friend. And she ran. She left him there like nothing had happened. My hands were shaking. My heart pounded against my ribs. This wasn't happening. It couldn't be happening. Tell me exactly where it happened. I demanded, my voice tight. She swallowed hard. A block behind the club, near that new construction site. There was a hole. I didn't wait for her to finish. I grabbed my keys. Where are you going? She cried, scrambling to her feet. I turned, my pulse hammering, to find him. She rushed toward me, grabbing my arm. No, you can't. Are you insane? I snapped, shaking her off. You left him there, Olivia? If he's still alive, she paled. If he's still alive, then. She couldn't even finish her sentence. I stormed past her, yanking open the door. Stay here, I barked. Don't touch anything. And if anyone calls, don't say a damn word. Then I was gone. The drive to the club was a blur. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My mind was racing through worst-case scenarios. David, lying there, bleeding out. David, dead. David, missing, because someone else had already found him. I parked a block away and sprinted toward the alley. The street was eerily quiet, the neon lights from the club casting long shadows. My breath came in ragged gasps as I reached the spot Olivia had described. And then I saw it. A patch of disturbed dirt. A deep hole in the ground, covered in shadows. My heart nearly stopped as I crept forward, peering over the edge. Nothing. No body. No David. I staggered back, my pulse roaring in my ears. What the hell? I spun around, scanning the area. The only sound was the distant hum of traffic. There were no police. No signs of a struggle. No blood. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and dialed David's number. Straight to voicemail. Panic coiled in my gut. I tried again. Same result. I wasn't sure if I should be relieved or more terrified. Then, just as I was about to turn back, I spotted something. A single object lying in the dirt near the hole. David's phone. I bent down, picking it up with trembling fingers. The screen was cracked, but when I pressed the power button, it lit up. A missed call. From Olivia. 20 minutes ago. My blood ran cold. I spun around, my breath coming in sharp gasps. She had called him after coming home? Why? I turned on my heel and ran back to the car, my mind spinning out of control. Had she lied to me? Had she come back here before I did? By the time I pulled into our driveway, my entire body was shaking. I stormed inside, my heart hammering. Olivia. She was sitting on the couch, her knees drawn to her chest, staring at the floor. She didn't even look up when I entered. I threw the phone onto the table in front of her. Explain this. Her head snapped up. Her eyes widened when she saw David's phone. Where did you? Don't play dumb, I growled. You called him. After you told me he was dead. Tears welled in her eyes. I was scared. I just wanted to know if he was okay. Okay. I nearly laughed, but it came out as something closer to a snarl. You thought you killed him. And then what? You called his phone like that would magically fix it? She shook her head frantically. I don't know. I wasn't thinking. I needed to know if he was still alive. I finished for her, my voice dangerously low. Her silence was all the confirmation I needed. You lied to me, I said through clenched teeth. You ran. You left him there. And now he's gone. She let out a choked sob, her hands gripping her hair. I didn't mean to. Stop saying that. I exploded. For God's sake, Olivia, where is he? She stared at me, her lips parted, but she had no answer. Neither of us did, because David's body was gone, and someone had taken him. I stood over Olivia, my mind racing. David was gone. Someone had taken him. But who? Who else knew you were with him? I asked, my voice sharp. She shook her head. No one. I swear. No one saw us leave. I didn't believe her. I grabbed my phone and pulled up David's last known location, but his GPS was off. Whoever took him either stole his phone or he turned it off himself. What if he's still alive? Olivia whispered. I shot her a glare. Then we need to find him before someone else does. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. Where are you going? She cried. To the club, I snapped. If David walked away from that fall, someone had to have seen him. She didn't argue. She just sat there, her face pale as a ghost. The club was still buzzing with life. Loud music, drunken laughter. But I wasn't here to party. I pushed my way to the bartender. Hey, did you see my friend leave earlier? Tall guy, dark hair, with a woman? The bartender barely looked at me. Man, I don't remember faces. I slammed a $50 on the counter. Try harder. He eyed the cash, then sighed. Yeah, he was here. Looked pretty wasted. Left with a woman. I tensed. A woman? He nodded. Not your wife, though. Someone else. My stomach dropped. Who? He shrugged. Never seen her before. Blonde. Fancy dress. She left with him around midnight. Midnight. An hour before Olivia came home. Someone else had been with him. And now he was gone. My mind reeled. A blonde woman? Olivia never mentioned anyone else. I clenched my fists. Did she look familiar at all? The bartender shook his head. Nah, but she wasn't some random club girl. Looked classy, expensive. That didn't sit right with me. Why would a wealthy woman leave a club with a wasted man? I turned to leave when a voice behind me said, Are you looking for David? I spun around. A man stood near the bar, sipping a drink. His suit was too sharp for this place, and his eyes studied me like he already knew the answer. Who the hell are you? I asked. He smirked. The guy who saw what happened after your wife ran. The room tilted. My breath hitched. What do you mean? He took a slow sip of his drink. That blonde woman? She didn't take David home. She put him in a black car. And buddy, he leaned in. David didn't look conscious. A chill ran down my spine. Someone had taken him, and Olivia had no idea. My throat went dry. What do you mean he wasn't conscious? The man smirked. Looked out cold. Could have been drunk. Could have been worse. A pit formed in my stomach. Did you get a plate number? Anything? He shrugged. No plates. But I know cars. It was a black Mercedes S-Class. Tinted windows. No way it was a random pickup. My pulse pounded. Who the hell would take David? I pulled out my phone. Did you see where they went? He took another sip. Straight downtown. Toward the waterfront. Waterfront. That wasn't good. I spun around and rushed out of the club. I didn't have time for questions. I had to find David before it was too late. Back in the car, I called Olivia. She answered on the second ring. Did you tell me everything? I demanded. A pause. Yes, why? I exhaled sharply. Because David didn't just disappear. Someone took him. Silence. Then a shaky breath. What? She whispered. I clenched the wheel. A blonde woman. A black car. He was unconscious. Olivia, what the hell is going on? She let out a sob, and that's when I knew. She was still hiding something. Olivia's sobs filled the silence. My grip on the steering wheel tightened. Tell me the truth, Olivia. Who was she? She gasped for breath. I don't know, liar. I pulled over, my heart hammering. You're still hiding something. She sniffled. I was scared, okay? I didn't think it would go this far. Ice crawled through my veins. What would go this far? Another pause. Then, the blonde woman. She's not a stranger. She's his fiancée. My blood ran cold. What? Olivia exhaled shakily. David was engaged. But he never told you. I gritted my teeth. And? She knew about me, Olivia whispered. She saw us leave the club. I think she followed us. My stomach twisted. You think she took him? Olivia sobbed again. I don't know. But she messaged me. My heart nearly stopped. When? A beep. A message flashed onto my screen. Unknown number. You should worry more about David. You're next. I stared at the words, my skin prickling. David wasn't missing. He was being silenced. And now, someone was coming for Olivia. I turned the car around. Whatever was happening, it wasn't over. I stood frozen, gripping my phone as my mind raced. Olivia had lied. She hadn't just bumped into David. She had planned to meet him. I looked up slowly. She sat there, head in her hands, as if trying to hide from reality. You were going to leave me for him? My voice was barely a whisper. She closed her eyes. I don't know what I was thinking, but I knew, and it shattered me. Before I could say anything else, her phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. He got what he deserved. Now stay quiet. I swallowed hard. Whoever had taken David wasn't after Olivia. They were making sure no one asked questions. I exhaled, forcing myself to think clearly. We need to go to the police, I said. She jolted. No, we don't know what happened. If we go now, they might think. It doesn't matter what they think. David is gone, and we might be next. She shuddered but nodded. I grabbed my keys, and we left. As we drove in silence, my mind kept circling one terrifying thought. Had David really fallen? Or had someone made sure he never got back up? And if that was true, who was really behind all this? I had a feeling this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning.